Hey everybody, trying to set this up. Give me a few seconds. I'm gonna try to get this finished set up, so at least now you can see where it is. Sorry for the little pause. Gonna be right there in a second. I just need to get this clicked over for a couple of reasons. One is I need to be able to hopefully see the comments that people are going to be posting. Here we go. Make sure everybody can get in here. Okay, so got that. And hopefully we can start seeing this. Again, sorry, hope you can hear me, hope you can see this. So there's been a bunch of questions going on, and there's been some ruckus because there's people who are already kind of going, nuh-uh, it's not true, trying to make excuses. And so we're going to go through and explain some of these things. Some of this has probably been explained in previous videos, and hopefully I can start seeing some additional questions I can answer directly, because I've been getting flooded with all kinds of questions, and a lot of them are pretty much the same. So to start with, let me grab this and a quick little thing so I can wipe off the board. Grab the pens. All right. So, what does the Howell case mean? All right. Now, here's the thing. And they talk about, can they use them as income? Now, what we're talking about here is classifications of different things. There's two fundamental ways that a state could use any kind of federal money, okay? Because when you're getting money from the federal government, it's provided as a waiver of sovereignty, okay? As a veteran, we have a right to sue the United States and say, give us money. Our kids have a right to sue the United States to give us support awards. And we can do that even though the United States is a sovereign, indemnified state, government. We can do that because they gave us a waiver, okay? And so, and this is, part of the argument where they say, well, family law as a whole belongs to the state. And it's like, well, yes, but federal benefits and things that come from the federal government are not family law. They are indemnity law, because the obligator is not the veteran. The obligator is not a person. The obligator is the United States. They're the ones who are forking out the dough. So it's indemnity law. It's not family law. So the moment you go and apply for benefits, that's not a family law issue. Veteran benefit discussions are not family law. That's indemnity law. Okay? So what the Supreme Court did is the Supreme Court in Howell pointed back to all of the cases that it did in the 80s. And there were a lot of cases. We had Ridgway, Izquierdo, we had Rose, we had Mansell, we had McCarty. These are all cases. And all of the cases are great information, but a lot of the laws changed as a result of the rulings. The cases are still good. They discussed the current language at that time to explain how the law works. So when you look at how the law works, all of that is good information. What Howell was doing is they were getting pissed off because a lot of people have been throwing arguments saying, oh, well, you said in this case that we could do this. And they said, yes, but did you look at the current statute? No? Well, then you're an idiot. You have to look at the cases and the current statute. You don't do that, you're an idiot. If you try to tell me that the answers are not clear and you're looking at both of those, you're an idiot. So that is what the Supreme Court came down with. So when we talk about the ability to use funds as income, and this is explained in the motion, the first thing to understand is they're not income. They're actually not classified as income. They're not under a definition of income. The state does not have the authority to call them income. And that's pointed out under the section called identification of funds. Because even in the Rose case, when they were explaining states could do it and consider them as income, they were saying they're still not income. You're just pretending because what you're doing is making a benefit decision. So two ways. One is as property. The other is making a benefit decision. Okay? And the Howell case talks about it under property. They don't talk about it under benefit decisions. They talk about it, and so this is where some of the people are out there going, oh, well, they're not saying we can't use it for support award as benefit decisions. But that question has been answered, and nobody's been arguing it because that answer is so profoundly clear that anyone arguing against it is basically just saying, I'm blind and I don't want to look at the law. I don't want to look at anything. I don't want to look at history. I don't want to look. It's like pretending that the Civil War never happened. You know, that's like going, seriously? You're going to pretend the Civil War never happened? You're going to pretend that decision that Congress didn't explode, that the VA is no longer called the Veterans Administration? You're going to pretend all that didn't happen? Wow. So they can't argue this. When you've been going into court, they've been trying to confuse you. They've been talking about Rose, and they've been talking about all this other stuff over here because they want you to look over here and try to say, hey, I can prove the point. But what you didn't do is notice that they were saying that they could use it under property. And it doesn't take both of these for them to be able to use it, just one of them. If they can use it in either way, then they've got it. So if you spend all your time arguing this and you don't mention McCarty, you didn't mention Mansell, or you didn't mention the Rose property piece, then they're going to say, well, he didn't argue against it, so we can do it. And that's what was going on. All right? So the states were saying, and mostly they were misinterpreting Mansell. They were saying, let's ignore all of the other rulings. Let's look just at Mansell and say, well, in Mansell, you have these retirees, and in order to get veteran benefits, they don't get double paid. They had, we know there's laws changing all that. They have to give up $1, and then they get it as veteran benefits. And when they said that the veteran benefits received by the VA were protected as property, they only said that they were protected under Title 10, where we had the USFSPA, the Former Spouse Protection Act. Under Title 10, it said it's protected under 1408. They're excluded under 1408. And the court had said, well, we don't have to tell you again how they're protected independently under 5301, under Title 38. See? And so they were saying under Title 10, since they're only protected if you receive them in lieu of retirement, and the court didn't repeat that they're protected over here, then we can use all of the other veteran benefits as property. And that's bullshit. And the court was really pissed off about people saying that. So what they did is they said, no, we told you in McCarty and in Mansell, and they even said it in the Rose case, that you can't use them as property whatsoever. Okay? So property has been gone. All these people trying to and justifying this, the courts, Oregon's courts, Michigan's courts, everybody's courts have been justifying it on the ability to do this. They distract you with the discussion on benefit decisions, but they've been telling you, okay, in little tiny spots, that it's under property. They don't want you proving them wrong, so they distract you. And that's what the Howell ruling was, is they came down and said, no, this is bull, we're not going to do this. So under property, the Howell ruling is no, you are preempted. You are completely preempted. Congress has stripped you of authority. Now this is a very important factor on supremacy. The supremacy clause of the Constitution says federal law supersedes state law. That's how most people think of it. But it's more than that. It's not a matter of just, you have a state law where states are normally able to do things. The state says, well, you have to stop at a stop sign. Okay, great. Well, if the federal law says that you don't have to stop at a stoplight, that you're allowed to go and you have a right to go, then it supersedes the state law. The state has the authority to make decisions about their roads. The federal government has authority, and the federal government supersedes the state. That's saying that you have to apply this rule over yours. Okay? That's different than preemption. Preemption is a very, very strict and special thing that we've got here. Preemption is we're stripping you of authority. It's not saying that, whatever rule you have at the state, you have to apply our rule over yours. It's saying you don't have any authority to have any rules at the state level, okay? You've stripped them of authority. So when it comes to veteran benefits, they've been stripped of authority. They have none, okay? And that, a lot of people sit there and go, can we hold these judges accountable and so forth? Well, that gets into the tricky part, is whether you showed them that. But preemption, it's like sitting there and saying, okay, well, cops have the authority to go out on the freeway and pull people over and give them speeding tickets. I don't. I don't have authority. And preemption would be they wrote a law, the federal government wrote a law that says civilians are not allowed to go out on the freeway and do that, or you're not allowed to go on the freeway. Let's say the federal government wrote a law that said that states are preempted, that Congress wrote a law, states are preempted from enforcing statutes on the freeways, on the interstates. Because they cross state lines, the federal government could actually do that. They haven't, I know. But let's say they did. So now you have to have federal sheriffs or whoever, being the ones who manage all of the enforcement on the freeways. If a cop goes out on the freeway and starts doing stuff, he's not just violating a federal law. He's not just in conflict with the federal law. He's acting without authority. If I go on the freeway right now, I don't have authority to pull people over. It becomes criminal. What I'm doing is I'm harassing people. I am physically interfering. I'm breaking laws to pull people over, get them off the road, give them some BS statement that says whatever. I'm trying to enforce it with my own tickets and take their money. Oh, that's theft. That's criminal. Well, when the state starts acting without authority, it's criminal. It's no longer a matter of whether or not this is, you're just in conflict and you are superseded. Okay? When you're superseded, you had the ability to do it, you did it wrong because the federal rules apply over yours. Preemption, you don't have the authority to go there. You don't touch that, you don't go there, you go out there, it's now criminal. That's a big difference with preemption. Okay? And states are preempted. McCarty versus McCarty held that the United States Congress has the authority to preempt states entirely over the subject matter. And Congress has done this. Now, when people want to talk about the Rose case, this is part of the discussions we did. We had somebody who came in. She was somebody who was very legally, I don't know if she was a lawyer, I don't know if she's a mediator, I don't know what her job is per se. I saw some comments about that. She does appear to be a lawyer out of Florida. She wanted to understand that. She threw out some discussion pieces. It pissed a lot of people off because a lot of things that she was asserting were taking things just, it's what a lot of people have been taught to do, and it's basically use social justice, for a lack of better words. They're not using the law. They're using their own personal skewed perception to enforce something that's not legally right. And they're forgetting all kinds of legal facts that they need to actually understand. Federal benefits, again, when we talk about family law, these are support awards. You signed a contract, the enlistment contract. You signed a contract. It said, I'm going to go and I'm going to work for you. And especially when she started talking politically, that's very big because she becomes we the people. When you're talking politically about whether or not you like paying your taxes, that's we the people. We signed that contract with them. We said, okay, I'm going to give up my rights. You're going to tell me to pick up a gun, and I don't get to say no. You're going to tell me to put the gun down? I don't have a right to say no. I don't have a right to bear arms. Even when you run off into battle, run into a blown up building, run into whatever, you get shot at, all those things, and nobody actually ordered you to do it. You were operating under presumptive orders that you were taught to understand that you had the presumption to put your life aside and say, I don't have a constitutional right to my own life. I'm supposed to die for my country if that's absolutely what's necessary. Okay? You were following presumptive orders. All right? You didn't actually have to have somebody tell you to go do it. That was you going above and beyond your own personal sense of self-preservation, and that's why people get medals. It's because you're going above your, you get the Medal of Honor. You went above your own sake of self-preservation in an extreme situation, and you said, I'm going to do this. I know I'm going to probably end up dying, and I'm going to die, but this is my duty, and I've got to do this for these other people. And you've overlooked that, and you actually went above and beyond. That's why you get those medals. It's to say, wow, they were put into a situation, and they did it. There's a lot of people who, every single one of them, would have done it, just never provided the opportunity. So you get medals when you ended up in those opportunities. I know a lot of people have a lot of medals, and they did those things. Those are great, and those are big accomplishments that people overlook. But what you've done is you've signed a contract that says, I'm going to do this, and I'm going to get something in return. You walk into a store, I'm going to give you money, and you're going to give me a block of cheese. I'm going to give you money, you're going to give me some tortillas. I'm going to give you some money, you're going to give me hamburgers. That's an agreement. I'm going to go work for your ass, and you're going to give me health insurance. I'm going to work for your ass, you're going to give me a paycheck. I'm going to work for your ass, and if I get hurt, then you're going to provide me and my family support awards. You're going to provide us insurance, you're going to provide us medical, you're going to provide us all these things, and that's in that contract. That's what federal benefits are. They're support awards. They provide for the support and welfare of the entire military and veteran community. It's their job. The entire reason they were created was because of this contract. Now, the fact that veterans happen to be nice and allow people to have access even though they didn't sign the contract or even refused. All these little millennials that veterans have been getting really pissed off about because they refused to sign a contract to get free college, and now they say, oh, well, we have a right to free college even though we refuse to serve in the military. No, you don't. Just because we're nice and we're helping people who are poor and we offer you some of our college money to do that doesn't mean that you have a right to it. That's like walking down the street, handing some guy a cheeseburger because he's starving, and you go, here, dude, I can't stand watching some kid or some guy starve, here's some money. And then you go home, and the guy's taking over your house, and he says, ha-ha, kick you and your family, your kids, out, and start saying that's yours. No! Bullshit! You have a right to those things. And what we have is the federal benefit system, okay? The entire federal benefit system. And that is split into two things, the VA and the Department of Health and Human Services. Not Homeland Security, DHS. This is Department of Health and Human Services. They're split, and we split them like that so that we would say, these ones, we're not going to share these with you. These are military specific. You have to have been like a Vietnam vet, or a World War II vet, or a 9/11, post 9/11 guy. They have very specific military specific eligibility requirements. You can't share those with other people. But generic stuff, especially people for our civilian families, that becomes a little easier for us to share because we want to help out any starving child, not just our own starving children. So, we have these split. These are all the benefit support awards for you and your family. Now the VA gives money to a veteran. And there's a tiny bit of money that you might get for your kid. A tiny bit. If you think, I'm talking about the biggest situation, $100 a month from the VA is supposed to take care of all the needs of your child? Really? You think so? You think that that's all it takes to take care of a veteran's kid when they're permanently disabled and stuck in a chair or whatever that is? Or whatever their situation is? You think that that's what's taken? No. All of these benefits, TANF, HUD, WIC, school lunches, all of that was built for you and your kids. You have a right. We're nice and we let other people have access even though they don't have a right to it. We have a right because we signed a contract. We signed a contract, we backed it up with the Constitution, it's under Section 4 of the 14th Amendment. We have a right to this federal welfare system. It's for our welfare, it's for our support. That's why 50,000 low-rank soldiers, not them, but their families are on food stamps. Why? Because we said we were going to make sure that they were fed so they weren't distracted from their jobs. Okay? That's for them. Everybody else getting this, unless you're a veterans family or active duty, nah, you don't have a right to them. But they are there, and that system has to be in place to provide for veterans and their families and those military families. That's what those are for. Okay? Now, here's how that works. Under Title 4D, we send a bunch of money to the states in order to share this money. We send a big chunk for us, we send a big chunk for them to share, and then the state has to match the amount that we send for everybody else, because we're providing a big chunk of money. We give them a whole bunch of money to actually create the offices and computers. We put out a whole bunch of money for the state, and one of the things the state has to do is they have to match the funds that we actually provide to somebody. And two, we told them, since you're going to build all these offices, we don't want to have to double pay those offices, so we're going to give you the money for our kids. So all the support awards for your family go down to the state, and they agree, we're going to give support awards to this veteran's family. You're going to get this money for your kid. That's your kid's child support award right there. And the state got the money. So in a state court, they're saying, I don't want to pay your child support. I know I signed a contract. I know I agreed to take all the support award money from the federal government, but I don't want to pay the support award. I want to ditch out on your enlistment contract, and I'm going to make you give up your food stamp money. Okay? There's a little bit of broach over when it comes to when the federal government gives money to the veteran and when they give it to the family. When you get BAS, they give you money just for you to get food. Now, I know they've changed how BAH works. They actually adjust it now for family members, and they give you a little bit more. Back when I was in, no. Everybody got the same BAH. That was it. We all got the same BAH. We all got the same BAS. The veteran, or the guy who's in the military, he's getting BAS. He doesn't get food stamps. His family does, because the DOD is giving him food specifically for that. That's why those families get food stamps. All of that money was sent to the state. They're basically saying, no, we want to steal your money. And the judges are doing it. Now, go on Google and you do a look for this document, and just type in the Splendid Isolation in Review and type in VA or something like that. And you're going to get a document that's on the VA website. This is part of legal history. It's all there. It's a review of what all of the scams that happened prior to the Veteran Judicial Review Act. Okay? And that's what happened with this Rose decision. The Rose decision was that states were allowed to make these support award decisions. We give them the money to make these support award decisions, and they're supposed to make them. But now they're trying to say we can make the VA support award decisions. And if they did have the authority to make the VA decisions, does the state have the authority to say, okay, well, you get veteran benefits, or you don't get veteran benefits? We're going to send an order or a letter over to the Treasury saying that Joe Schmo gets veteran benefits. Does the state have the authority to do that? No. But in the Rose case, the Supreme Court said, look, Congress, you screwed this language all up. The VA, you give them $400 billion a year, and they literally have no requirement to spend the money. They don't have a requirement to take care of the veteran. They don't have a requirement to perform this thing called an apportionment decision. Okay? Under Rose, they had the apportionment decision. And that's a benefit decision. It's a decision on who gets how much between a veteran and somebody and their dependents when the dependents are living separately. Sound like child support, split money, all that? Yeah, it does. So what they said is the state was allowed to make a federal support award decision of this. That's a federal support award decision. And they were allowed to integrate this federal support award decision into their state support award decisions. And to integrate it, they had to pretend these federal benefits were income. They could consider them as. Okay? I can consider Hillary Clinton's head a butt plug. And I know she uses her head as a butt plug, and I know a lot of people can believe it's a butt plug, but it's not technically a butt plug, okay? It's not. Now, and yes, that was a big joke at Hillary's expense. Yep. So, they can consider it as, they can pretend because they have the authority to integrate and pretend in order to perform an apportionment. Now, who does the apportionment decision? Can a state do that now? No. We have the Veteran Judicial Review Act. Bang, bang, bang. Under the Constitution, there's this thing called Article 1. And Article 1 is what allowed Congress to establish all of the U.S. courts of appeals. So when you go to the federal courts, you have a district court, then you have a court of appeals, these circuit courts. Ninth Circuit's been in big contention lately. You have the First Circuit, the Third Circuit. They also created what was called the Federal Circuit. And the Federal Circuit's job is to answer things that are appealed directly from federal agencies. So if you want to bring a complaint as a person and you're going to the district courts, those go up to the numbered circuits. If it's an argument between different agencies or you've argued it through administrative processes in the agency and then you appeal it, that goes to the Federal Circuit Court of Appeals. Well, there was these courts that Congress invented in 1988 in direct response to the United States Supreme Court ruling of Rose saying that they had the authority to make benefit decisions. And Congress explicitly stated, and it's in the motion, right there it tells them what congressional hearing it was in, it tells them right where to go. Congress said, hell no, states are not going to be making benefit decisions. These decisions are supposed to be made in non-adversarial conditions, and there is nothing more adversarial than a family law court. They are going to be made by the VA, and the VA is going to have an obligation to make them. And you know what? We're going to create a whole bunch of brand new courts called the United States Courts of Appeals for Veteran Claims to make sure that they can adjudicate all of those decisions. So if the VA screws up and makes a bad decision, they can appeal it. All of that due process that we bitch and scream and yell and say we have, that was put in place because of Rose. Okay? It was actually two cases, Rose and another one, like I think it was called Turner, the next year, and it was about the review of benefit decisions versus the making of benefit decisions. Rose was about making, and then they had another case about the review, and Congress went, okay, this is flippity flap. They just slammed them. They said, oh hell no, states are not going to make or review benefit decisions. You do not have the authority to do this. Now think about this, people. For 30 years, we've had these courts. In that brief, I've cited a bazillion different places, and there's, at one point, I think I put down, this doesn't even include the hundreds of thousands. Why? Because there are hundreds of thousands of rulings by United States federal court circuits, all agreeing that states don't have jack in the way of authority under this. Every time a veteran files a brief to the Court of Appeals, they're going to the Court of Appeals and saying the Court of Appeals has jurisdiction to review the VA's decisions. And the first thing the court does is say, do I have the authority to review this decision, or was there supposed to be another few steps that the veteran was supposed to do and I had to wait? There have been a lot of those cases where the vet tried to jump to the Court of Appeals before they finished going through like all the way to the board. There's a bunch of steps you have to do. Well, if you didn't do those steps, the Court of Appeals goes, no, the VA has exclusive jurisdiction. Not only that, but people have attempted to sue the VA and do these type of things in the numbered circuit courts. So like they try to sue the VA and say, oh, you medically screwed me up, or you screwed this up and that up. And they go into the Ninth Circuit, or they go into the 3rd or the 11th and 10th and 8th and 6th, and every single one of them they've done this. And they went in and said, I want you to punish the VA for doing their job wrong. This is benefit decisions. Every single one of the numbered courts has said that the jurisdiction over benefit decisions is exclusive. And Congress has not only preempted the states of that jurisdiction, they preempted the federal courts of that jurisdiction. All other federal courts, the only ones that can look are the CAVC or the Fed Circuit if you go up through the VA administratively. Otherwise, no. They don't have authority. Even if it's a question on constitutionality, you have to go through the VA. You have to go through the VJRA. It's so exclusive. It's every single type. So the entire subject matter. They've been stripped of it. The states have been stripped. The federal courts were stripped. Everybody was stripped. The only people who are not preempted are the VA, the CAVC, the Fed Circuit, and the United States Supreme Courts, or Supreme Court. They're the only ones not preempted. They're the only ones granted authority, and everybody else is completely stripped. All right? So when this is what they're trying to do now. This is why you have all these people. This ruling on property is like, it smashes every single high state court ruling, Oregon, Michigan, all these things. It throws them in the gutter and says, no, you don't have the authority. So now these people are scrambling. Because yes, the Supreme Court voided every single state court ruling since 1988. They're all void now. Any state that used these funds, they're void, and the states are going to have to pay you back. There are processes you're going to have to go through, but they are trying to stop it, because that means they're going to have to pay all the money they stole from you back. They're not going to be able to go to your kid and say, oh, well, you have to pay us back the money that we gave you from your veteran parent. No. The state has to pay it back, and they're not allowed to go back to the kid. That's expressly in there, too. If the state screws up, they get left holding the bag. They acted without authority. They're the ones who did it. It's their fault. They did it. Okay? So they are scrambling right now. You're going to hear all kinds of, well, that didn't say anything about support awards. They didn't have to. The Supreme Court said in Howell v. Howell that the questions on indemnity, on all of this stuff, based on the current cases and the current statute, all answers are clear, no matter how complicated you try to make it. Because the Howell question came up as some really complicated post-time, Mansell said that they were protected if they had the benefit decision. If the guy did the waiver before the divorce, then that's one thing. But what if he's trying to get the waiver after the divorce settlement was done? And they're like, no, I don't care what little screwball antics you're using. Okay? And that's why I also point to the hearing, because in the hearing, and again, this was a unanimous ruling. This is not like some Democrat versus Republican, conservative versus progressive judge type thing. Okay? Because when you talk about judges, you're talking about how they interpret the Constitution, whether conservatively or progressively. It's not that they're Democrat or Republican. You have conservative judges, and they say that it should be interpreted the way it was run. It doesn't matter which side they were on. They all sat there and went, oh, we're pissed. Rehnquist brought the court into laughter because judges, he goes, and he's grilling the defense attorney. And he's like, you're telling me that you're not dividing the money, but you're just awarding an amount that's the same as if you divided it. And he's like, everybody is just laughing at this woman. Okay? For trying to sit there and say, yeah, states can make up whatever rules they want. They can just do this and that and the other. And he's like, no. You are preempted. And this is the big thing about it. You have been stripped of authority. You can't just make a frickin' excuse up and pretend that, oh, well, I was just making, it's wrong, and I'm allowed to be wrong. I'm a judge. I'm allowed to be wrong. No, you've been stripped of authority. It's not about being wrong. You're doing something you're not allowed to do at all. You're not making an erroneous or decision that can be voided. You are making a decision that is criminal. Okay? You're stealing money. This is not, no. You don't make excuses. Oh, well, the car was on the side of the road and nobody was driving it, so I just decided it was mine. The whole court is laughing about these stupid excuses that the states were using. The one from Oregon, oh, huge, thrown out the window. The crap that I've heard before, just thrown out. Even Ginsburg, okay, and Ginsburg's been, a huge speaker on progressives and things like that when you look at everybody's sides. And she is sitting there and she catches it and she's like, wait a minute, can the state do this? Can the state just say, okay, well, I'm not going to divide this, but I'm going to I'll use some over property to compensate for the fact that you get retirement and she doesn't. and I'm going to compensate for this. And the guy was like, no, I'm not saying that we should make, that Mansell's a dead letter. No, I'm not saying that. That's what they've been doing, It's like, I'm not saying they should do that. And he jumps back, he's like, no one is saying that we should use veteran benefits at all. No, I'm not saying we should say Mansell's dead. She was like, and she was scaring these lawyers. Okay, so this is not some, it's nothing they can argue. They can't. And it's why this motion was put together very specifically. It's because when you run into people like this one woman who is trying to give you every excuse and reason, because they're screwed. They are screwed blue. And you've got them by the balls now. And it's why that motion is 15 pages long. Because it covers all of the BS crap that you keep hearing people come in and saying. It's all in that motion. You want to tell me that you can do this? Fine. Read the motion. You should know that the answer is no. And the Supreme Court was very clear about that. Anybody presented the cases and the current statute should have a very clear understanding of what the answer is. So if they've done it, then they're screwed. Now, when you look at the picture about the judge in the cage, lifting the cage off of the other people, I posted sections of the brief that I sent to the Supreme Court on this because I wanted people to understand that when it comes to holding these people accountable, because somebody's going to get held accountable for this, all right? They screwed you guys. They stole the support awards for your kids, and they tried to cover it up by stealing your money and giving it to them, okay? That's all it was. Let's steal your money and cover up the fact that we're stealing all of this money, okay? It's supplanted budgets. It's standard BS that they've been doing for years. And in that splendid isolation, it is a standard reason that every lawyer out there has been trying to get access to your veteran benefits from legal fees. So every lawyer out there who's going, no, you can do it, I'm just going to ignore, I'm not going to look at this, it's because they like getting their legal fees paid from your benefits. Which, by the way, is why that's encased as a criminal statute, that if a lawyer tries to get your veteran benefits and gets paid your veteran benefits and says, I'm going to get paid out of your veteran benefits, if they do that, for legal fees, that's a year in jail, automatic. So they're toast. Okay, I'm going to start looking at some of the comments out there, and hopefully we have something that I can answer. Oh, retirement. How does this apply it to retirement? Okay, they did not say that the retirement can't be used anymore. It can be used according to the FSPA. And they were saying, look, retirement can be divided as according to the FSPA, but the veteran benefits cannot. The other thing that they were talking about is they were saying, look, if she loses some retirement, you can do some stuff for support awards to compensate that she's got less to support her now. But you're talking about a retiree situation. People want to confuse this. If you're a retiree and you have retirement income and your work, you have let's say some VA disability, and you have a job and a 401k, and you have all this other type of income, that they can use to create a support award from, and she loses a whole bunch of retirement, which they were using to provide her a support award instead of the income, then they can compensate by saying, look, we're trying to handle her basic needs. The alimony thing was something that was going on where people were talking about alimony. Alimony and support awards are different. Alimony, support, and benefit decisions are actually all three different things. When they talk about maintenance, okay, maintenance and alimony are kind of the same type of thing. When you're talking about a support award, you're talking about just taking care of the basic needs. State courts will mix these and say it's all one thing, where a support and alimony award are just one big award, because it simplifies it for all the little clerks in the back. But legally, a support award decision is handling someone's basic needs. You provide them a house, you provide them food. If you were married to a millionaire, let's say you got married when you were young, and all of a sudden you become a millionaire owning oil tycoon and your wife is so used to living in this nice environment, but then your marriage destroys, and your support award is going to pay for her to have a crap apartment, basic enough for her apartment. It's going to pay for her food. But an alimony award is to make sure that she has a comfortable lifestyle that she had become accustomed to based on all the work you did to get that nice, comfortable lifestyle. So that's what an alimony award is. You don't use veteran benefits in support awards at the state side. Much less are you going to ever consider using somebody's welfare check, somebody's food, to pay for you to have Starbucks every day because you got used to having Starbucks every day. No. That's what alimony is the ability to have that luxurious lifestyle based on lots of money being available. You don't have lots of money. You're on welfare, people. These are federal benefits. How do I go after the state for the amount that was paid? That's a good one. And it's going to depend on the state. I would think that in some states, okay, and I know for a fact in some states, I can't remember which by name, when you file this motion to vacate, it's going to go to the state court. They're going to have to throw out that ruling. Then, these are steps. It's called due process because they're steps. You're going to have to take that vacated ruling from the court saying that no child support was ever owed and it was vacated, and so all of it has to be changed. Okay, so the accounting has to be updated. You have to take that to the child support people and say, okay, I have a court order vacating this ruling and your numbers are wrong. Okay, you enforced, based on this order, which has now been held void, you need to fix your accounting. How much has been paid versus how much is owed? Well, I owe nothing. I'm on veteran benefits and Social Security. And that's another one that came up. Yes, this includes Social Security. They're not allowed to use Social Security either. All right? When you do Social Security, when you do VA, Social Security will give you an amount, and then they have a separate check for your kid, and that gets sent to them from Social Security. The state doesn't get involved. You go to the Veteran Benefit Office, you go to Social Security's office, you would go to the food stamp office. You would not divide a food stamp card in court. No, it's not done there. Okay? So, for... completely lost track of where I was. Once you get this ruling from the court that it's been vacated, and you are informing the court, they're preempted of authority. You're not asking them, which is what we used to do before. Like the affidavits that were out there, the motion to show cause that I was presenting you had to get the court to agree to relook at it. And so when you have to get the court to agree to relook at the situation, you're filing a motion to show cause and motions like that. Now, no, you don't have to ask them to agree. You are informing them. You are a courier. You are the messenger from the United States Supreme Court saying, your shit is void. They voided it. You're simply being the messenger. A motion to vacate is saying, I am informing you that the Supreme Court voided your ruling and you now have to vacate it and take it off the thing and stop doing it. That's what you're doing. You're not asking permission. You're not asking the court if it has jurisdiction. You're not asking them if they are authorized to make benefit decisions. You're informing them, no, it's been settled. It is. And it's been settled by every U.S. Court of Appeals. When you say that the United States Courts of Appeals are unanimous, that's a Supreme Court ruling. It's effectively a Supreme Court ruling, because the only way that you'll get a question presented to the Supreme Court is if there's a conflict between those U.S. courts, or a conflict between the states. That's what the Supreme Court's job is to handle disputes. When all of the lower courts agree this is how we're going to do it, the Supreme Court's not going to weigh in on it. Doesn't even matter if every single one of the courts was wrong. That question will never get to the Supreme Court because all the lower ones agree. So, when you have all of the courts of appeals agreeing it's exclusive, no. And all of the federal courts saying that states are preempted and stripped of authority, yeah, they better listen. They better listen, because then you're talking about treason. Yes. That's the crime they're looking at. Because you're interfering with the enlistment services of Congress. And they bribed you with federal benefits to join the military, and nobody's going to join the military if we can't offer benefits. And if we're just going to give up and not actually give them their benefits, then yeah, people aren't going to join the military, we have to do things like stop loss. And veterans end up killing themselves. And they end up with 50,000 homeless, which was all pointed out in my brief to the Supreme Court. And personally, I think they responded very perfectly to 3 of the major statements that I put in there that I asked them about. And they did. They came back and they answered them perfectly, which is why all of it is in that brief to give it to them and assert it the way it is. Once you get that from there, you go to child support services, you're going to give it to them. They have to update their accounting. This is where it gets weird. Some child support services will bitch and moan, but they're going to be the ones who pay you back. And you're going to have to really get on their asses. You're going to have to go through those numbers yourself because they're going to want to cheat you. They will. They'll play with the numbers. It's like back in the day when we used to have to balance our checkbooks. You're going to have to go through their accounting and make sure they don't freaking rob you because they're going to try. They're not going to want to have to write you a big check, and they're going to. Other states actually have what's called a claims court. And so what you do is you go back and you say, okay, I need you to update your thing, and then you have to actually file a claims court request. And it's kind of like filing a brief. Some of them are pretty formal. A lot of them are informal, where they basically, you're filing an application, say, yeah, I did, you explain the situation, say, look, I paid, the court ruled I had to pay support. I paid support in the total of X amount of dollars over the last da-da-da years. That ruling has been vacated because it was void from inception and the rest of that. Those are things that you're going to have to bring up to that claims court to do. That's going to be a next step to get to. And it's kind of the reasons why we're not really talking about it right now. We just got a Supreme Court ruling to void all their rulings. The first step is to void it. You're talking about 10, 20, 30 steps down the way. We need to deal with step number 1. And step number 1 is to get this brief in front of those courts and say, stop doing it. Once we get it stopped, then we can work on how to get the money back. Okay? And we can start diving into those laws and getting very, very specific on what we got to do, and whether we have to go to a federal court to do it and force these states to do that. Those are all questions that they haven't come up yet. We just need them to stop right now. So the vacate's the very first thing. The other thing is I got a couple of people saying, hey, has this been held? Is there any case law? The Supreme Court is the case law. They just threw out any state who says, hey, our state courts have ruled we can do this. You go, the Supreme Court just threw out all your stuff. They're vacated. They're void. They're null. Your case law doesn't exist anymore. It's been declared illegal. It's not been declared wrong. It's been declared illegal. Okay? So they don't have any case law, and the only case law there is the Supreme Court saying no. So I don't care what. So the case law, that's it. We just got the ruling on the 15th. It's going to take a while until people start submitting these briefs. If you don't submit the brief, you're not going to get a positive response. Nobody's going to get a positive response if people don't submit the briefs. That's why a whole bunch of people have been submitting briefs. I submitted them, okay? And my court gave me a very interesting response. So far, they said, well, we have to wait, by law, we have to wait 14 days for the Attorney General to respond and for your ex to have a chance to respond, and then we do it. And are you ready to file your order? They're like, are you ready? Because usually the judges do the order, but my courts are piss ants. They actually make you write your own order, and all the judges do is just sign it. That's all they want to do. They just sign something. They tell you to do all the work, all the paperwork, basically. Most other courts actually do the order themselves. This is like one of those things I've never really ever seen it anywhere else, where they actually make you write up the order. Lazy bastards. So, yeah, I'm based on what they were doing. They were kind of like, this guy just slapped the shit out of us, and they're not going to argue it. It doesn't seem like they're going to do it. I haven't gotten anything. I've been checking the court, find out if there's anything yet. They might. It's too early to say. I got to wait, a good 2 weeks. I'm going to have to wait. The court took a week before they even looked at it. It's in a stack. So again, you need to submit the stuff. Something anybody else has out there. I should probably pull up another page, see if there's... SSI and SSDI. Okay, so SSI is basically, they talk about it kind of like it's the VA pension. It's where SSI was provided for people who were born with autism or born with disabilities where they didn't actually work enough to contribute into Social Security. And that's if you did earn enough to make Social Security, and that pays better than SSI, because even if you worked, when you apply for Social Security, they'll go, okay, well, you're going to apply for both, actually, because that way, if SSI pays better than your Social Security, let's say you worked at McDonald's for 4 years, and you got enough credits, but they're going to pay you $300, and SSI is going to pay you $9. They'll pay you SSI instead of SSDI. SSDI is when you're using your actual Social Security. SSI is not Social Security. It's managed by them, but it's not Social Security. It's supplemental security income, and it's basically completely separate from Social Security. Social Security is when you pay into it, you have an account, all that good stuff. SSI is separate. It confuses people at times. SSI has been universally accepted. No, they can't touch it. Social Security, that is universally accepted that they're not allowed to do it. But when you get a bunch of lawyers who want to get fees paid, because when you apply for Social Security benefits and you want to get your child's check sent to them separately, or you want to get an award made this way and that way, those decisions, they have strict legal fees, because lawyers keep trying to suck us with legal fees. And so we have big regulations, and it's why lawyers, nefarious lawyers, want to couch that subject matter in family law. They want to get that apportionment decision. They don't want to go to the VA because they won't get paid much. They'll get paid, oh, I got a little bit of money for getting an apportionment decision made. I got paid a little bit of money to help some guy get the separate check made by Social Security, something they can just walk in and say, yeah, I need you to do this, and they'll do it. You know, it's a simple process. They don't really get paid for it. But if they can get you into a family law court, then it's, oh, I need to get paid a bunch of money out of this, and they get a whole, $2,000 in legal fees because you submitted one question and you won that argument, and it's, you just want to smack them. So yeah, the lawyers love to couch the subject matter, but for Social Security, no, they cannot use it. And it's been made very clear both in the Supreme Court cases, and it's been made clear by quite a few state high courts who have pulled on this. And there is a huge, half a page quote that was made from, I think, Vermont on the issue, and they were explaining, no, it is universally accepted. The United States says we're not allowed to do it. These people say we're not allowed to do it. All of, these states say you're not allowed to do it. The legal community says you're not allowed to do it. It's out. There's still going to be a bunch of wiggle worm assholes who want to steal your Social Security. The separate check, it says, yeah, you're going to get some extra money. That's just for your kid. Yeah, that goes to your kid. Okay? But they just want to argue over it and get you into a process where you have to pay it through them, because then they can get fees. Let's see, what other questions we got? Will the local courts fight the rule? Let me pull up another page here real quick, too. You need to be able to see other page. Hang on a second here. Trying to get this. Okay, so, all right. If veteran benefits and Social Security are your only sources of income, your only funds, your only resource, the only thing you have to take care of you, what is your child support obligation? Your obligation is zero. You, especially as a veteran, okay? If you're solely surviving, again, we said family law as a whole belongs to the state. But as soon as you become disabled and you have to apply for benefits, now it's a matter of indemnity law. Well, if you don't have any other income, if you don't have like rental property, a 401k, some type of commission from somewhere, you not get, wages, tips, anything. If you don't have anything for them to divide, 0 divided by 0, by 50%. I don't care what percentage it is, divided by 20%. It's still 0. When a veteran applies and they're surviving solely on federal benefits, then the support and welfare of the family is solely a matter of indemnity law, which means that a state court, when you walk into that family court, that judge should not be looking at you and going, okay, how can I hold you accountable and make you pay for a child support award? They should be looking at you and saying, okay, you got trashed, dude. So, we need to make sure your kids are taken care of. Have you applied for your benefits? Have you applied for your are they getting their part of the Social Security? If not, you make sure you go to the benefit office to get that. Did you get your your school lunches? Did you get your school lunches? Have you applied for them? That's supposed to be what the state court's doing. It's solely a matter of indemnity law. And applying for those benefits, when you walk in those offices and say, I need to get some food stamps, I need to get some school lunches, you're suing the state, the government. The state took the money from the federal government to give you those. They're just administrating the work. So, that needs to be their sole concern. Are they doing it right now? No. Hopefully this will help set it straight, and that is something that's in that the brief is to explain to them, is that when you're solely surviving on federal benefits, then the issue of paying for child support awards is solely a matter of indemnity law and not a family law court issue. So it's not family law. You don't mess with it. Any other questions from people? I've got a lot of comments kind of scattered. Let's see here. Yeah, my phone is going off. We got a bunch of people who've been wanting to come in and get this. We've got, whoops, sorry, wrong one. Oops. Okay, that's just a statement talking about what his issue is. So, I think the comment or the questions are I got a lot of the same questions popping up that I answered. Maybe what I'll do is I'll come back again later at another time and answer more questions if you guys come up with them. But I think I'm going to let you go now because I don't know how long I've been standing here and my eyes are starting to hurt. Anyway, I need something to drink. I hope this answered your questions. If you have more, come in and get them. You really need to read the brief, and it does play in both directions on explaining things, and it tells the states, you can still divide the military retirement, and you can still use all of the other sources of income that are out there to make sure that a support award is being provided, and all the things that the Supreme Court held. The ruling was not about, punishing X's. The ruling was about, states basically trying to get out of paying the disability payments or the support award payments when a veteran's disabled, and trying to find some way to legitimize why they were doing it. And instead, what ended up happening is they got chewed out for all of the excuses that they've been making since 1988, and why every single one of you is now coming in here. They just got chewed out for doing that. So, anybody starts getting responses back, let me know. I'll let you know when mine comes back from the court. Again, I don't brag off your stuff. That's your win. You're the one doing this fight. I'm just giving you, I'm an arms dealer. I'm your legal arms dealer. I give you stuff that helps you do it, you know? So go out there and let us know how your fight's going. Ask us for questions, you know, how can I deal with this? How can I deal with that? So that we can come up with, you know, find the laws. You get a whole bunch of people looking at the same stuff. You got a lot of help there, you know? Lawyers aren't really looking for that. They just want to make money. And they're just, whatever answer gets me paid. And then it's done. Let's get this done and get me paid. Have a good weekend, guys. Start popping in those motions Monday morning.